Yes guys, we are back today with yet another classic. This is a V12 6-litre JAG. That number plate must be worth fortunes. So today the customer, or in fact the customer's storage place, has brought it to me because the brakes coming down from high speed, they do a real judder. I went for a quick test drive with him yesterday. And when you're coming down from about 50, 60 mile per hour and you put the brakes on, it goes everywhere. Apparently this had new calipers a few years ago because the front left was seized. So I'm guessing when that was seized and they drove it up to the garage to go and get the calipers done, that it's warped the disc. It's got hot, it's warped the disc. So let's crack on and take it apart. Now I thought it'd be just cool to just have a quick look under the bonnet as well. The bonnet struts are actually really good, but because of the angle that it's on the ramp, the bonnet won't stay open. So what I've done is chucked in my trusty old man stick. It's great for pumping clutches, brakes, pressing things, holding things up. It's one of the most important tools in my toolbox. So we can see this is a later model where it's got fuel injection V12 6-litre. Absolutely ridiculous. Lord knows why they needed a 6-litre V12 that only makes about 3 horsepower. But hey, it runs well, drives well. Let's crack on with the brakes. So the first step is to jack up your car, not too far off the ground. And then we'll go ahead and start taking off the wheel nuts. These are actually 22 millimeters. They look like forward capped nuts, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually forward parts because there's a lot of forward parts on this car. Even the key looks like an old Fiesta, and even the bonnet pull as well might have been out in a bit of an Escort or something at the time. Jag. Ford Jag. And now that the wheel nuts are cracked off, we'll send it up. Now we're going to go ahead and whip the wheels off, being nice and careful, because these wheels are very pretty. I'll go and do the other side as well. Jag. Both wheels are off. Let's check out what the brakes are like. Now, like I said, it did have 2 new calipers. Same on the other side as well, nice brand new one. But why they didn't change the discs when they had the calipers done, I don't know. I think we might be able to see where our judder is. You can see there's an imprint of the pads there. So maybe they were really, really hot. It's imprinted, rusted in. You can even feel the difference between it as well. That's got to be where our judder's coming from. And you can also see the discoloration. It's quite red. It's like a really bronzy red. And that normally happens when something's been really, really hot. If I give it a little turn as well, you can see, once again, another imprint of a pad. Here and here. It's a perfect imprint of a pad. So I think we've hit the nail on the head, really. Looking over at the other side, this one isn't as red, but there's no imprints on the disc of the pads, so this one mustn't have got as hot. So at least we've got nice new calipers. We can get the disc sorted as well. I thought now might be a nice time to just make sure that we've got the right parts. So we'll just whip open this. These look pretty good. Big square ones. Let's see if they match up. Yep. They look pretty same to me. Nice. And again, check the discs as well. Just to make sure before we start taking it apart. So it's precisely between the holes. It is 65 millimeters for a V12 6-litre XJS. And if you just put it on the car where it sits, again, we are precisely 65 millimeters between the holes. So that means we're good to go. So it's getting a bit warm out now, being March. I think it's got to 13, 14, 15 degrees today rather than 3 this morning when I was a bit chilly, but I'm staying true to the chap who brought me this. I'm gonna have to put my hat back on and just suffer the consequences. Now the reason I do wear this hat is because it's bloody freezing. But the chap who did bring this, I'll just explain. He says that I should wear it all the time because it's a very recognisable thing on my channel that I've always got this bloody hat on, but I don't know what I'm going to do when it comes to summer. I'm going to have to put something else on because I can't wear this in summer. It's going to be bloody too hot. Right, that's enough talking about silly hats. Let's start taking things apart. Replacing the discs on these isn't as straightforward as a modern car because the hub is actually on the outside and the disc is bolted to it from behind. So what we're going to have to do is take out the wheel bearing, and then the whole thing will slide off. But to be able to slide it off, you've got to take off the caliper. And to take off the caliper, you've got to undo the locking wire there and there, and then take those bolts out. Now it's very similar to an E-type setup actually. So you got to look out for, in between where the caliper bolts, here, you have to look out for shim washers, just in case there's any there that's been spacing stuff out. I've had a quick look, I think there might be one on this side. So we'll go ahead and start taking that off. Now, this is really not going to be the easiest thing to show you, but you can at least get an idea and I'll go through it towards the end. So we're going to start by snipping off our locking wire from the back of our caliper bolts. There she goes. And we'll start cracking off these nuts too, like 17s or 5/8, something like that. Absolutely nowhere near 5/8, 3/4. I mean, I've gone ahead and just released the pads slightly by just pushing them back. It makes it easy, a little bit easier to get it past the lip. We've got the bottom one nice and loose, and we'll come in just in the top one. It's just a little bit further in there. We'll crack that one off as well. Now, like I said, when taking these out, make sure that if there is any shim washers, that you know exactly where they go back. Right, after a bit of jiggery pokery and a bit of swearing, caliper is off. And it's always a good practice to write down exactly where things come from. There was two little shim washers there between the steering arm and the caliper. They're the two top bolts that come out. And you just got to be careful about your ABS wiring. I assume it's ABS wiring, this thing, because it goes down there to the inside of the disc. But I've tied it up, it's out of the way. We can swap the pads out when it's back on. Let's get the disc off. Jumper's back on, I got cold. Okay, this is a pretty standard setup for classic cars. You're going to have to take off our little dust cap, which might just pull off like that. And inside you can see a split pin, which obviously holds our little locking thing for the spindle nut. So we'll just carefully remove this. There's a split pin out. Chuck that in there. Got our little locking ring. Chuck that back in there. And this shouldn't be very tight at all. What size is that, do you reckon? 11/16? No. Maybe 3/4 again. Nope. If in doubt, find the spanner that fits. This one fits all of them. We'll just find how tight we want to be. So that was obviously there, which is where it wants to be. So when we come back in, we can get this bit here on the top, and that just comes round and goes flat with the top there once it nips up. So I'll whip that off, chuck it in our cap. We'll now need to get the disc off, but to do that we need to remove the wheel bearing, outer one. So first of all, we have our nice big washer and the bearing behind it, like so. We'll keep that safe and clean, keep it very clean. We'll use our nice plastic bag that came with the new discs and keep that nice and clean and free from dust. Now in theory this thing should just pull right off. Just like that. There we go. That's our ABS sensor we were talking about. So you have to be careful with that, putting that back on. Now it appears that our bearing stayed on the hub, as well as the seal. I think we're going to take that off. We'll see if our seal can slide off as well without getting too much crap in. We can put it all back together and chuck it on at the same time. Right, disc is off and on the floor now. I'm just going to whiz out these bolts to detach the disc. Left them soaking for a little while, just to crack them loose. 5/5/8. I'll whip out these bolts and we'll get the new disc added on. There we go. Don't forget to give your new disc a nice swizz like that, so you don't have any oily, greasy shit on your new pads. Give the best chance. Good old brake cleaner actually being used as brake cleaner rather than floor cleaner, hand cleaner, engine cleaner, everything cleaner. So we can now just lower down our new disc onto the hub, being careful of the ABS ring. Beautiful, looking good. Then we can reinstall our bolts. Finger tighten them first, like that. Get the thread started. Then you can just whiz them down nice and even. And we can just check that we're all good. Looking very good, very nice. And there you go, new disc installed. I think we'll get some new grease in the bearings, refresh that a little bit, plop it all back on, and we can do the other side. So I'll give the bearing surface a nice clean, get some nice new grease on this, get it all smushed in so we're looking good. We can chuck that back in where it wants to be and get our seal back on as well. Give this a nice grease, slot her back in, and off she goes. Give it a nice little clean up, and she's ready to go back on. Give my hands a little clean first because it's a messy job this. Like I said, all I've got to do now is come in nice and square, make sure the bearing sits nicely and the seal as well, and it will just sit nicely back on like that. Outer bearing nicely greased as well. We'll chuck that one back in where she wants to be. Oh yes. And our nut. These nuts. And we'll get our one size fits all spanner, tighten her back down, make sure she's looking good. And we can chuck on our locking nut and put our split pin back through. And finally, we can pop on our little end cap, give it a little tap, and there she is. New disc, back on. Alrighty then guys, we're on the home straight now. We're just going to chuck the caliper back on. Careful of your wires and your cables and your ubris and your dubris and your watsits. And don't forget, you need to put your shim washers back in as well. Wherever they came out, make sure they go back in where they came from. So I can just release the holding tie. Now it helps if you grab a bolt first. So you're not scrabbling around looking for stuff. But we can get the caliper back on. It's a little bit fiddly this. You've got to try and get everything back in all at the same time. It's not very much of a DIY job this, I don't think, but if you've got a ramp, you might as well use it. So we can get one bolt back in. At least get a few threads in like that. That'll hold everything where it wants to be. I'm going to get the top steering arm bolt in nice and loose like that. See if you can get a few threads. Give her a wiggle. And finally, our three, I thought there was two, but there's three shim washers that go between the steering arm and inside the bottom bolt there as well. Between the steering arm and the caliper. There she goes. Okay, pads. So to get these out, you got these little R clips here, and you got to tap them from this side. Well, they're pretty loose already. Good job those are in there. So, as you can see, you pop these little buggers out, like that. Make sure you don't lose them. 1 and 2. And then, this is probably the easiest ones I've ever seen. Normally you have to tap them out with a hammer. But you can just slide the pins out like that. Just like that. And you'll be able to pull out your pads. Now these are little clips that you have to put back on again on the new pads. So we'll take them bad boys off. Slide out your old pads. Take the other clip off. Slide out your old pads. Just give the surfaces a nice little dust off. Like so. Maybe use a bit of brake cleaner again, just to get the crap off. There's a bit of shit on there, to be honest. Get them all nice and shiny again. Shiny. That's better, look at that. And same again with the top. A little bit of a swizz. And here are our new pads. Like I said, chuck on your little clips. Like so. And they actually have a little bit of spring in them, so when you put your pins back through, they hold down there nice. There's nothing wrong We've just put in a slight bit of copper grease on each end of the pad where it sits in the caliper, just to stop it from seizing up. Not too much, just a very thin skim, just like that. And then we can go ahead and slide them in. Oh yes. Beautiful. And same with the other side. Lovely. Okay, pins back through. You might need to push our little clip in. And just feed it through like so. Make sure you got your clip on the other side. And same again for this side. You just give it a little push, just so your pin can come through. And there we go. Next pin going in, and she's all the way in. Give her a little tappy tap. Pop your little clips back in to stop them coming out. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. Or in my case, Bob was my grandpa. I'll give him a nice little swizz just to get rid of any greasy finger marks that we might have put on. And finally, to finish off the job, we need to put new locking wire through the bolts. That's going to be really hard to film, so I'll show you the end result in 1 second. And there we go. We've got our nice new locking wire twisted round, all locked up, nice and safely tucked out of the way. Very important step, so make sure you do it. Beautiful. Let's chuck the wheel back on and we can get it back on the ground, lock her up, and she's good to go. One, two, three, 4, 5. Now don't forget to do the other side. I'm not going to film that because nobody wants to see the same thing twice. But the final thing you need to do before you close the bonnet is check your fluid level, which is at maximum, and we can close the bonnet. And there she is, folks. We'll take her for a nice test drive, we'll verify the fix, we'll give the guy a call, and he can have it back. So don't forget, if you like this kind of stuff, I'm always fixing all sorts of random stuff. So if you like it, hit the subscribe button, chuck us a comment, and I'll see you on the next one. Jag.
You have it.